keeping the golden goose laying them eggs, looking after it.
Don't take any risks.
The thing is, with Anthony Joshua, he's Olympic gold medalist, and in the UK, he's a massive star. He sells out stadiums, 70,000, 90,000.
Huge star.
Huge star.
I say it's a win-win for Jake Paul is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beating a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was manning up. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everyone wrong, all his critics.
Come out the blue, but it's intriguing. And I think from Jake's perspective, I think, he's had a lot of criticism about, he is a pro boxer now. The way you want to look at it, he trains as a pro, but, and he's fighting as a pro. They said it's about time he fought some.
Joe Rogan and Tyson Fury break down the possible Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight and question why Joshua would even consider it. They argue that this move looks driven by business motives, rather than real heavyweight ambition. Fury insists that Joshua should be targeting elite rivals like him or Deontay Wilder, fighters who represent true danger and legacy challenges. Choosing Jake Paul, in their eyes, feels less like competition and more like a calculated money play that doesn't fit a top tier. Heavyweight's path.
Because this is a business at the end of the day. And if I was his management team, I'd say stay away from Fury, stay away from Wilder, and we'll just fight the rest of the people and keep making plenty of money. Why do we need to fight these guys who are very risky?
WO Michael Bisping views the matchup through a different lens, explaining that Jake Paul actually risks nothing in this situation. If Jake pulls off even the smallest success against Joshua, he instantly earns massive respect. Because beating a former unified heavyweight champion, Evan by luck would silence his critics in one night. And if he loses, Bisping says it still raises Jake's profile. Stepping into the ring with a world-class heavyweight makes him look brave and ambitious. For Bisping, Joshua carries all the pressure. Because if he doesn't dominate from start to finish, people will question how serious he is as an elite contender.
Out there on an island by myself, everyone says the same thing, and he would potentially prove all of those critics wrong. Well, yeah, he would, maybe, unless there's some funny business, right? And for Anthony Joshua, as I said, this is kind of a lose-lose, right? Because if he wins, people are still going to say, well, you only beat Jake Paul, right? The man that lost to Tommy Fury, after all, right? That's the only loss in his record, Tommy Fury. You're telling me that Tommy Fury is going to beat him, and then Anthony Joshua's not going to beat him? So if he beats him, he gets no credit. And if he loses, then holy can you imagine? That would be the biggest downfall of any boxer's career. The reality is, he's not going to lose. There is no way on this earth that Jake Paul can beat Anthony Joshua in a boxing match. That's just a fact, okay? Look at what he did to Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou hits as hard as a Ford Escort, going 100 miles an hour or whatever that stat was. Comes from the UFC. He was the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. Has a good go against Tyson Fury, but goes up against Anthony Joshua and gets flatlined. Every single punch that was thrown was landed, and every punch that landed put Francis Ngannou down, okay? So to stand there and think that Jake Paul, who's much, much smaller, who has way less experience, that doesn't weigh anything near him, is going to have a chance, and not to mention the technical abilities. Let's just talk about that. Not to mention the technical abilities or experience. We're talking about an Olympic gold medalist, remember, from back in the day, who's then gone on to become a true British boxing icon, or a worldwide boxing icon, let's be honest, right? There's no way that he loses to Jake Paul.
Joe Rogan emphasizes Joshua's credentials, calling him an Olympic gold medalist and one of the hardest punchers of this entire era. He believes Joshua would show up to make a statement, not just secure a win. Rogan says Joshua would aim to deliver a beating that forces Jake to rethink calling out real heavyweight champions, turning the fight into a message of superiority rather than a simple contest.
God, if he beat Anthony Joshua, good Lord. Good Lord. I mean, that's a big if. Right? I mean, Anthony Joshua,
I do not
Olympic gold medalist, former heavyweight champion of the world. What he did to Francis Ngannou, like, good Lord.
Yes.
Do you want that smoke?
Yeah, I just think it's all about the promotion or whatever. I have no idea what the actual motivation That fight's not competitive at all.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
I mean, Anthony Joshua's one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch fucking night-night guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's a great boxer, you know, very skillful.
Yeah.
Frank Warren views the situation with blunt skepticism. He says this entire discussion appeared out of nowhere and feels like Jake Paul is the one aggressively pushing for it. Warren believes Jake is tired of being mocked for carefully chosen opponents, fighters who are smaller, older, or not true boxers. By chasing Joshua, Jake is trying to erase that narrative forever. Most promoters never expected such a matchup to even be mentioned. But Warren notes that Jake seems determined to prove he deserves a heavyweight spotlight, even if the idea sounds more like a stunt than a realistic contest.
Them both. It's not a fight I even thought of. I mean, it's nothing to do with me to start with. I mean, it come out of the blue, but it's intriguing. And I think from Jake's perspective, I think, you know, he's had a lot of criticism about he is a pro boxer now. The way you want to look at it, he trains as a pro, but, you know, and he's fighting as a pro. They said it's about time he fought some. I've seen some of the stuff, you know, that been said. When's he going to fight someone? Well, I mean, he's gone from one extreme to the other. You know, that's what he's doing. So if that fight happens, you've got to take your hat off to him.
He got called up by Andre Ward, AJ. Would you rather see Jake fight AJ, which is obviously, as we know, a mismatch, or Andre Ward, who's been retired for, 4 years?
I'd much rather see AJ fight Tyson.
Oh, please. I dread to think how many
we
times
don't know if
he's
that's
done
going to
this.
happen because the big man, he's filming, he's not made his mind up what he's going to do, and he certainly won't fight this year.
Ben Davidson approaches the topic with harsh realism. He compares Jake Paul.
In terms of a fight, like, Francis Ngannou is one of the most durable men on the planet. And look at what happened there. I don't think it's good for boxing, if I'm honest.
I was about to ask, obviously, if we were to see whether AJ would be a heavy favourite with, I'd imagine, 99.9999% of the sport. How quickly would you expect to see Anthony Joshua get the job done against Jake Paul?
He could go in there and do what he wanted. He could play with him if he wanted to, but or dispatch of him.
IX Spencer Oliver brings a symbolic view, suggesting the fight could represent a modern version of the unexpected. Fan drawing events Muhammad Ali once participated in. Oliver thinks Joshua entering this type of spectacle would attract a massive audience, beyond boxing's usual reach and open new marketing pathways. He believes Joshua could gain global popularity from younger viewers who follow influencers more than boxers, expanding his star power and adding a new chapter to his legacy, not through competition, but through cultural impact.
Pops him a few times in the face, walks out of 150 million quid. No one will remember the fact he fought Jake Paul. They'll remember the fact he knocked Klitschko out in Wembley in 2017.
Totally agree with that.
So I'm kind of, whilst I don't like it, and I don't like the way that Jake Paul gravitates to these brilliant athletes and like a moth sucks the life out of them because he gets a benefit of association, because I think they deserve all the association. But he is a club. And there was opportunity there, isn't there?
Listen, commercially, of course it works because it'll be huge and there'll be a load of money on the table. And for Anthony Joshua, it's like sort of, you know, he's going to get rewarded very well with no risk, minimal risk, no risk at all. He's going to go in there and he may then put all this stuff to bed with Jake Paul and calling out all these different champions, etc., etc. So, of course it works. And when you're talking about, you know, the credibility that Joshua's going to get, he's not going to get none now, but are people going to remember that? Of course they're not. Like, when he goes on to do what he does, didn't Muhammad Ali have some sort of strange fight in the middle of his career? Didn't he box? Yeah, he did. He boxed some non-boxing guy and whatnot. Like, people don't remember that. That's what I'm saying. Look, us as boxers, we don't remember stuff like that.
It was replicated in Rocky. So, he did a version of fighting Thunder Lips, didn't he? So we all know that happens.
Absolutely.